People in our neighborhood didn't talk about the playground during the day. It was just there, tucked behind an old iron fence between two apartment buildings and a laundromat that always smelled like wet coins. In daylight, it looked harmless: wood chips, faded paint, a slide missing a bolt. Parents told their kids it was closed at night, but everyone who lived on 13th and Alder knew the real rule. It only opened at 3 a.m. Nobody wrote that down. The sign said nothing about hours, but those who'd lived here long enough had seen it. The padlock stayed tight until that minute. Then, without sound, the chain sagged, and the gate stood open, waiting. Lena Brooks found out by accident. She worked night shifts at the hospital, walking home past the laundromat around 3 every morning. The streetlight above always blinked twice before holding steady. She used to count the flickers to pass the time. One night, she stopped counting. It was 2:57. She saw her reflection in the laundromat window, and behind it, the gate. The chain looked the same. The sign looked the same. But when the light blinked its usual 2 times, the swing moved once. Just once. Slow and even. At 2:59, a car turned the corner and disappeared. The street felt hollow, like a room after a party. At 3 a.m., the chain didn't rattle. The lock didn't drop, but the angle of the gate had changed. It was open by an inch. The space between the bars could now fit a coin, maybe a hand. Lena froze. Her fingers still smelled like hospital soap. There were footprints inside the mulch, small ones. She told herself they were old, that kids had climbed over during the day. That's what tired people do at 3:30 a.m. They invent logic to protect their nerves. The next night, she came back on purpose. 10 minutes early, she told her coworkers she needed to catch a bus. The city was quiet, heavy, like it had agreed to sleep. At 2:57, she saw it again. The same gate, the same stillness, but something new. A small red jacket, folded at the base of the slide. "Hello?" she said, her voice barely her own. No answer. At 2:59, the air changed cooler on one side of the fence. The swing darkened with a ring of condensation, like someone had just been sitting there. At 3 AQ, she did something brave or stupid. She pushed the gate. It moved with a low, soft sound, like something waking up. The air inside felt heavier, colder by a degree her skin could measure. The jacket lay neatly folded, sleeves damp as though from breath. The swing moved again, this time higher. The sound was slow, deliberate, the faint sigh of rubber over air. Lena stood there whispering, "Okay, okay," as if words could close a door that was already open. Then she heard it, a laugh, quiet, small, the kind of laugh that hides under blankets when children tell secrets. She didn't run. Running attracts things. She stepped backward, out through the gate, and pulled it closed behind her. The chain hung still, pretending to be locked. Her watch read 3:03 the next morning. She told no one. Not her co-worker who believed in ghosts, not the neighbor with the open door. She searched online for the park, found nothing. The city's site said, "Under review." A forum post from 6 years ago ended mid-sentence. They only open it at night so the teenagers won't. That night, she promised herself she wouldn't walk that way again. She'd take the long block by the deli, but at 2:55, her feet decided otherwise. She brought a flashlight this time and stayed hidden in the pawn shop's shadow. At 2:58, nothing. At 2:59, the swing. At 3 had the lock that was locked and not. Then she saw it. A small white sneaker beside the slide, laces double knotted, toe pointed toward the gate. The kind of careful knot a parent makes before saying, "Go play." Lena whispered, "No." Somewhere above, a window cracked open. A radio caught half a song filled with silence. The sneaker's laces trembled without wind. From the fog at the back of the playground, another shoe rolled gently onto its side. She didn't move, didn't breathe. The swing hung still now, waiting. The gate remained open, and her watch refused to turn 3:01. That's the rule nobody writes down. At 3 a.m., the gate opens. Something small waits where a parent would never leave it. The city holds its breath. The light blinks twice. And if you're watching, if you're the kind of person who can't help but stare at an open door, you might think the playground is empty. It isn't. It's waiting for you to believe it exists. And if you do, the city will let you in. That's the other rule. The one nobody ever breaks twice. The next night, Lena did what every modern believer does when fear turns into curiosity. She brought proof. Her phone battery read 93% when she left her building at 2:40 a.m. She checked the lens, cleaned it with her sleeve, and told herself she was documenting nothing more than a faulty lock and a gust of wind. That lie felt safe in her mouth. The city was colder that night, the fog thicker, the streetlight flicker arriving earlier than usual, as if it was trying to warn her to turn back. She did not. At 2:52, she saw the laundromat window again, dark this time, the machine still, her own shape floating in the glass like a ghost that hadn't chosen a side yet. The playground behind her was a blur of lines and fog, but she lifted her phone anyway, pressed record, and narrated softly like a report. October 17th, 2:53 a.m. Gate closed. Her voice shook only a little. Minutes slipped by without anything worth filming, just the soft buzz of the street lamp and the hum of a distant delivery truck. She checked the screen. 2:58, the same minute that had changed everything 2 nights ago. The fog moved like breath across the bars. She zoomed in on the padlock. It sat there, silver and dull, perfectly still. And yet, the space between the bars she could swear looked wider. Her watch buzzed once. 3:00 a.m. The screen flickered for half a second, just a jump frame you'd blame on a cheap sensor or a poor signal. When it cleared, the padlock was in the same place. But the chain was different. It hung lower, a single link loose like a jaw unhinged. She whispered, "Oh no," and took one step back. The camera stayed focused, steady, honest, while the world inside the frame moved on its own. From the swing set, the chains shivered. The slide gleamed like something had just wiped its hand along the plastic. Lena's ears caught a sound the phone did not. A soft 2-note giggle, so light it could have been the metal settling. She kept filming. 1. Her footage was clean, no motion blur, no glitch. The gate now stood open by an inch. She zoomed again. The padlock had not moved. It still hung closed, latched through steel, but somehow the chain bent through it like a rope through smoke. She lowered the phone to breathe, and that was when she saw him. Mr. Harold, her neighbor from 3B, standing half-hidden behind the dumpster beside the laundromat. He was barefoot, wearing a coat over pajamas, eyes wide as if he'd been awake for days. "You see it too," he said, voice flat as wet paper. Lena nodded because that was easier than words. He stepped closer, kept his gaze on the gate. "They always come back around 3. Always play the same game. Hopscotch, 1 through 10. No 11. "Who does?" she asked. He didn't answer. He just pointed, and for the first time Lena noticed the chalk marks beneath the fog. Pale boxes, faint but fresh, stretching from the gate to the slide. The numbers ended at 10. A smudge beyond it hinted at something unfinished. Harold backed away, muttering, "They stop if you watch too long." She wanted to ask what that meant, but the swing moved again slowly, carefully, and the camera picked up a shadow that was not hers and not Harold's. A small shape crossed in front of the slide, hesitated, then turned its head as if it knew the angle of the lens. For a heartbeat, 2 tiny reflections flicked in the air where eyes should be. Then they were gone. Her hands shook so bad the footage blurred again. When she checked the timestamp, it read 3:03, the same minute she had run before. She stopped recording, pocketed the phone, and walked home with Harold following half a block behind like someone protecting a secret they no longer owned. At home, she locked the door, turned on every light, and opened the video. The audio was clean, her breathing, the streetlight buzz, the soft rattle of chain, but the video was wrong. It looped. Each time the timer hit 3, the chain shifted and the gate moved. Then the footage snapped back to 2:59, over and over. She counted 11 times exactly before the app crashed and the file renamed itself Play 10. When she reopened her gallery, every video she'd ever taken had a thin white outline around its thumbnail like chalk. The last one blinked gold once, then dimmed. Her phone buzzed with a notification from a number she didn't know. No text, just a timestamp, 3:00 a.m. tomorrow. Lena closed her eyes and heard again that private laugh under the slide. It wasn't memory this time. It was coming through the speaker, quiet, measured, counting hopscotch steps from 1 to 10. And when it reached 10, something on the audio breathed out and whispered her name. By morning, the video had vanished. The file labeled Play 10 no longer existed in her gallery, and the message with the timestamp had deleted itself while she slept. The only proof she had left was memory, and memory is never enough when you're trying to convince people who have never stood under a flickering streetlight. At the hospital that night, Lena tried to forget it. The ICU monitors blinked, the machines hummed, the coffee smelled like pennies. She told herself work was safer because nothing haunted a place already full of ghosts. But around 2:30, the screens began to pulse off rhythm, not alarms, not errors. Just tiny flickers like something tapping the power line every few seconds. She leaned closer to one monitor. The pulse line shimmered, steadied, shimmered again. Then, all at once, every monitor in the row flashed the same number, 03:00, 3 hours early, as if time itself had skipped forward. The lights dimmed, the air chilled, and somewhere behind the partition, a child's laugh, faint, playful, impossibly familiar, rippled through the sound of oxygen pumps. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Her co-worker, Marissa, looked up from the chart table. "Hear what?" Lena hesitated. "Nothing. Must have been a ringtone." Marissa rubbed her eyes. "Don't start with that haunted shift talk. It's flu season, not ghost season." Lena forced a laugh, but inside she was unraveling. When her phone vibrated in her pocket, she nearly dropped the clipboard. The notification was blank except for one word, 10. She checked the time, 2:59 a.m. The monitors glowed steady again. Then the heart rate monitor in room 10 flatlined. The alarm wailed. Nurses rushed in. Doctors followed. They worked for 7 minutes before the line went still for good. The clock above the door clicked to 3 a.m. exactly. Lena's breath froze in her throat. After the shift, she sat in the break room, staring at her phone. The 10 message had disappeared. In its place was a new draft video thumbnail, white outline, labeled Play 11 Movie. She hadn't filmed anything. She hadn't even opened the camera app. She touched the screen. The video opened on its own, static darkness, then faint light through fog. The gate, the playground, same angle as before. Only this time the swing moved faster, and something small in a red coat ran past the slide and stopped at the hopscotch grid. The camera panned, shaky, like it was breathing. Then a voice her own whispered, "I shouldn't be here." She slammed the phone down and it stopped mid-frame. When she picked it up again, the gallery was empty. Marissa walked in, yawning, and caught the look on her face. "You good?" Lena nodded too quickly. "I need to ask you something weird. Do you live near Alder Street?" Marissa blinked. "Used to. Why? You ever hear anything? Like after midnight, kids?" Marissa's yawn died halfway. "You too?" The way she said it froze Lena. "What do you mean, too?" Marissa looked down at her hands. "When I lived there, the swings used to creak every night around 3. Thought it was wind until my kid, he was 4, then started talking about a girl who plays hopscotch in the dark. Said she doesn't have shoes." Lena felt her stomach fold in on itself. "You moved after that?" Marissa nodded. "The night I found his sneakers outside the door. They were soaked. We don't even live on the ground floor." They sat in silence. Machines beeped through the wall. The hum of the hospital's power grid seemed deeper now, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Lena checked her smartwatch. The steps she hadn't taken tonight, the ones from her apartment to the laundromat, were somehow logged anyway. Timestamp 2:59 to 3:04 a.m. Marissa leaned over, squinting. "You didn't leave work. How'd it track that?" Lena swallowed hard. Maybe a glitch, but she already knew better. The playground wasn't a place anymore. It was a pattern one that followed time, not streets. That night, when she clocked out, she didn't walk home. She took the long route, past the main road, down to the river where the fog rolled thickest. Still, she could feel it waiting, that pull in the air, a current that whispered her name, the way water hums through pipes. She passed a bus stop where the ad screen flickered between 2 images, a soda brand and, for less than a second, a playground swing under a streetlight. She froze. The next frame was normal. She stared until her reflection looked like someone else. Her phone buzzed again. New message. "No number. You left the gate open." The timestamp, 3 a.m. She turned the phone off, removed the battery, and walked home through a city that hummed quietly in her bones. When she finally reached her door, she found a child's chalk mark on the bottom corner of the step, a half-erased square, with the number 10 beside it. Inside, her apartment felt smaller, the air heavier. The lights dimmed once, twice the same flicker she knew by heart. Then her hallway speaker, long broken, crackled back to life and whispered in her own voice, "Next night, hopscotch 11. By the 4th night, Lena had learned not to fight the timing. No matter where she went, no matter how early she tried to sleep, she woke up at 2:47 a.m. Every time, eyes open, pulse steady, body waiting. She stopped pretending it was insomnia. It felt more like scheduling. That's when she decided to use someone else's eyes. The hospital had security feeds in every hallway and parking lot. Cameras never lie, that's what she told herself. So she bribed Sam, the tech and maintenance, with coffee and overtime hours to help her check the city feed. Sam was a quiet guy, always chewing on the end of a pen. The kind who believed cameras caught everything if you knew what to look for. "You said Alder and 13th? He asked, tapping his keyboard. "Yeah, there's a playground behind a laundromat. Iron gate, small lot." He found the feed easily, a grainy black and white view from a traffic pole. Timestamp 2:59 a.m. last Thursday. The street empty. The gate closed. "Watch," Lena whispered. The seconds ticked. 2:59:41, 2:59:52, 2:59:59. 3 Minecons. The image jumped once like someone had blinked. Then the gate was open. No movement, no blur, no figure, no force. Closed at one frame, open at the next. The lock hadn't moved. The shadows hadn't shifted. Only the space had changed. Sam leaned forward. "That's not compression lag. That's missing time. Play it again." He did. Over and over. Each replay looped the same. One clean skip at 3 Quan exactly. Half a second erased. The frame realigning as if nothing had happened. Then, on the 4th replay, Sam paused. "There," he said, pointing at the far edge of the frame. Lena squinted. A faint line, white, chalk bright, arched across the bottom of the screen. Half a hopscotch grid glowing where no chalk should glow under sodium light. Sam exhaled. "You've got a projector out there or something?" She shook her head slowly. "No, that's real." They watched the next night's recording. Being the same quiet street. 3 hound flicker. Then, faintly, someone standing inside the fence. Small, Still, it looked like a child in a red jacket, head bowed, hand lifted as if waving not to the camera, but to whoever was watching the screen. Sam swore under his breath. "Tell me that's not." "It is," she said. When he looked again, the child was gone. He backed away from the monitor. "You should delete this." "Why?" "Because sometimes the system copies what it records, and sometimes it remembers it." Lena didn't understand, not then, but she copied the clip to her phone anyway, transferred it to a hidden folder, and locked her screen. The next day, her phone storage filled overnight. Every folder had duplicated itself 10 times. Each new folder was labeled Hopscotch 01 through Hopscotch 10. Inside each one, the same video, the gate opening, the skip, the flash of the chalk grid, only the timestamps changed. Address, Thurguar 1, 302. Each minute a new copy. She deleted them all. By evening they were back. She called Sam. He didn't answer. When she checked the hospital log the next morning, he hadn't clocked in. The IT department said his ID card kept scanning the side entrance between 2:59 and 3:10 a.m., but security never saw him. Lena drove to his apartment after work. The hallway smelled like stale coffee and damp wiring. His door was locked from the inside. Through the peephole, she saw his monitor still on security feeds looping through static. On the largest screen, she recognized the same playground. Only now the timestamp didn't read 3 on AM, it read live, and in the bottom corner of the frame, faint text scrolled in green. Recording new participant. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. 03 near AM. Then a second message. You watched too long. She dropped the phone, backed down the hall, and didn't stop until she was outside under the streetlight. The night hummed. Not wind, not traffic. A vibration beneath her feet, rhythmic, low, constant, like the hum she heard in the hospital when the monitors blinked wrong. When she got home, she turned off every light. Her TV flickered on by itself. No channel. Just static, and through it, faint sound. The squeak of a swing chain and the soft count of a child's voice. 7, 8, 9, 10. The static broke into silence. And then her own reflection appeared on the screen, faint pale, standing at the playground gate. Her breath caught. She turned around. Her window was closed, but the reflection on the TV lifted its hand and waved anyway. She unplugged the set, heart pounding, and still the reflection stayed for one more second before the screen went dark. The next morning, she went to work early. No one mentioned Sam. His locker was empty, but on his workstation, taped under the keyboard, she found a slip of paper. The handwriting was frantic, letters pressed deep into the page. It's not the gate, it's the clock. She stared at the words until they blurred. The hospital intercom crackled once, twice. Then through static, a voice, a child's, small and clear, came through every speaker in the ICU. Time for recess. Lena didn't go home that night. She drove. No plan, no bag, no destination, just movement. Because movement meant she wasn't inside a frame. The highway stretched ahead like a film reel unspooling, mile markers counting time instead of distance. At 2:12 a.m. she passed the city limit sign. At 2:25 the radio flickered. At 2:40 the lights of the nearest town appeared, dim halos, sleepy motels, a diner with a broken open sign. She pulled in behind a parked truck and killed the engine. Silence fell so heavy it had shape. She leaned her head on the wheel. "You're losing it," she whispered. But the hum followed, faint, electrical, pulsing behind her eyelids. She pulled her phone out of the glove box. Dead battery. She hadn't touched it since last night. The screen lit anyway. 2:59 a.m. Her pulse jumped. She turned the phone over, face down. The glow leaked through her fingers. Then, faintly from the diner across the street, the flicker of a neon light. Blink, blink, pause, blink, blink. The same rhythm as the streetlight on Alder. Her breath misted against the window. She rubbed it clear. The diner was empty, but through the glass, in the corner booth, a single shape sat facing the window. Small, still, a child's outline. She blinked, and it was gone. The dashboard clock changed. 3 a.m. Her engine sputtered once. The headlights dimmed. The world outside her windshield rippled like heat over asphalt. Then the swing appeared. Not physically, not in space, but reflected. In the diner window, in her side mirror, in the black surface of her turned-off phone. Every reflection showed the same thing. A playground gate opening slow, the chain moving without sound, the wood chips untouched but shifting like something just ran across them. She reached for the ignition. The car wouldn't start. Her phone buzzed in her lap. The screen glowed pale white. Text message. No signal needed. She dropped it, pushed the door open, and stepped out into the cold. The town was quiet, too quiet, as if the air had forgotten how to echo. She crossed the street toward the diner. Her shoes splashed through puddles that didn't ripple back. When she reached the door, she saw the open sign flicker to life, red letters cutting through the fog. Inside, the booths were lined with dust. The jukebox in the corner hummed a low note, steady and deep. Every clock on the wall, 3 of them showed the same time. 3. Seconds, hands frozen like they were listening. She stepped closer to the counter. There was a plate sitting there, pancakes half-eaten, syrup still wet. Someone had been here recently. She turned toward the bathroom hallway and stopped. There, on the tile floor, was a line of chalk squares, white dust smeared into footprints leading straight to the back door. At the end of the row, the final box was marked 10. Beside it, someone had drawn a circle with a single word inside. Again, her vision blurred. "Please, no," she whispered. The jukebox clicked. A faint child's voice, not a song, not speech, counted softly through the speaker. 1, 2, 3. It reached 10. Then silence. Then her own voice replied through static. Again, Lena bolted. She shoved through the back door, ran into the fog, didn't stop until she hit the next street. Every window she passed reflected the same thing, not her, not the diner, but the playground. Same swing, same gate, same fog. Like it had followed her pixel by pixel. She stumbled into a gas station lit too bright to be real. The attendant didn't look up. He was staring at the monitor above the counter, grainy CCTV footage of the parking lot. She followed his gaze. The screen showed her car parked across the road, but the timestamp wasn't 3. It was live, and the car door was open. Someone or something small was sitting in the driver's seat, swinging its legs, humming a quiet tune. She backed away. The attendant finally turned toward her. His eyes were wide, unfocused. "You brought it," he said. His voice sounded like a recording slowed down. "What? The hour? You brought it here." Behind him, every display clock blinked to life at once. 2:59, 2:59, 2:59. Then all three rolled into 3 on together. The lights flickered. The ceiling fan spun once, stopped, and from somewhere deep within the building came the metallic sound of a chain moving through cold air. She ran. Again. Out the door, down the street, anywhere but here. The fog thickened, swallowing the world one building at a time. She didn't look back until she reached a hill overlooking the highway. From there, she could see the whole town below, every building pulsing faint gold, like the city grid had learned to breathe. And in the middle of it all, the playground stood impossible, transplanted, whole. She could see the gate. It was open. She fell to her knees. Her phone vibrated in her pocket one last time. Screen cracked, battery almost gone. One message: "You can leave the place." Not the hour. The phone shut off by itself. The horizon flickered once, twice, like a pair of eyes trying to stay awake. And from far away, faint but clear, came that same laugh, quiet, familiar, patient. It drifted across the fog like a secret that had nowhere left to hide. By the time Lena made it back to the city, she had driven in silence for 4 hours. The sun was up, but it looked wrong, flat, washed out, like daylight printed on fog. Every radio station hummed with the same undertone, that deep pulse between notes that wasn't part of the music. She parked 2 blocks from the hospital and sat for a while, counting how long she could pretend to be normal. Then she did something simple. She went to the city records department. The woman behind the counter wore headphones and didn't look up until Lena cleared her throat. "Hi," Lena said, forcing a smile. "I'm looking for information on a playground near 13th and Alder. It's behind a laundromat. I think it used to be called Alder Park." The woman typed slowly, keys clacking like an old metronome. "You said Alder Park?" "Yes." She squinted at the monitor. "There's no record of a park by that name. There has to be. I've seen it. Hold on." The woman clicked through more files. Her screen's reflection glowed faintly on her glasses. "There's a permit for a lot there. City zoning, but it's listed as private property. Maintenance last updated." She frowned. 1987. Lena leaned forward. "Who owned it?" The woman scrolled. Name smudged in the scan. Something like Hollis Recreation. That strange company dissolved in 1989. "Can I see the original file?" She hesitated. "We don't usually—" "I work for the hospital," Lena said quickly. "Public health cross-reference. It's part of an environmental safety check." The woman shrugged. "Basement archive. Shelf 14B. Be careful down there." The lights flicker. The basement smelled like old paper and cold concrete. The overhead bulbs buzzed lazily, some too dim to tell if they were on. Lena followed the signs until she found a shelf labeled 14B. Stacks of blue folders leaned against each other like sleeping heads. She ran her finger along their spines until she found one marked Hollis Recreation Projects. Inside were old blueprints, parks, pools, playgrounds. She spread them on the table under the weak desk lamp. Each one had something odd about it. One park had no exits drawn. Another listed the same swing set 10 times with different serial numbers. And one, labeled Lot 47A 13th and Alder, had faint pencil writing in the margins. She squinted. The note read, "Approved for temporary installation. 030311. Do not extend operating interval." Lena froze. She read it again. 30311. 11 minutes. Her heart kicked once. Too hard. She turned the page over. Stamped on the back in red ink. Status: temporal test site do not replicate. "What the hell?" she whispered. A shuffle of footsteps came from behind the shelves. She straightened. "Hello?" An old man stepped into the light. Maintenance uniform, city logo faded, nearly invisible. His name tag was scratched beyond reading. "Didn't expect anyone down here," he said softly. They never come anymore. Lena clutched the folder. Do you know about this? Hollis Recreation? He nodded once, slow. That's not what it was called when I worked for it. What was it? He looked at her, eyes clouded like frost. Department of Temporal Environment Testing. We built things to see what time would do if you let it breathe. Lena's voice dropped. Time? They said it was for children, he continued. Safe, small experiments. Structures that appeared for 11 minutes each night. Playgrounds that weren't bound by coordinates. Only schedules. That's not possible, he smiled sadly. That's what they said too, until the first one didn't close. Her pulse spiked. Didn't close? The gate stayed open. Kids walked in, and when it reset at 3:11, he tapped the side of his head. The system recorded more souls than bodies. Lena's breath caught. You're saying... I'm saying it was never haunted. It was unfinished. He took one shaky step closer. They shut it down in '87, buried the data, scrapped the name. But the schedule stayed in the grid. You can destroy a building. You can't destroy the minute it was born. The bulb above them flickered. The hum deepened. The old man looked up at the ceiling. Not now, he whispered. Not here. What's happening? Lena asked. They found us. Who? He didn't answer. He reached into his coat pocket and handed her something cold, an old key with the number 47 etched on one side. If it starts again, don't go through the gate. Lock it instead. You hear me? Lock it from the outside. The bulb burst. Darkness filled the room like water. In the dark, she heard him whisper one last thing. It's 2:59. The hum swallowed his voice. The shelves trembled. Papers slid from the table. Then, faintly through the darkness, a child's voice. 1, 2, 3. Lena bolted toward the stairs, clutching the key so hard it cut her palm. She didn't look back. Not when she reached the door. Not when the lights behind her flickered gold. She reached the street, gasping, and looked up at the nearest clock tower. The hands were frozen between hours neither 2 nor 3. Her watch blinked uselessly on her wrist, and somewhere below the pavement, faint as breathing, the sound of a chain slid through metal once more. Lena didn't remember how she got home. One moment she was in the city records basement. The next, she was back in her apartment, soaked in sweat, the folder gone, the key still in her fist. She didn't sleep. The walls hummed too loud. Every outlet in her apartment vibrated with that low electric tone, the same rhythm she'd heard beneath the hospital monitors, beneath the diner lights, beneath everything. At dawn, she tried to throw the key away. She walked 3 blocks to the river and hurled it as far as she could. It hit the water with a soft plink and vanished into the current. The sound should have been satisfying. It wasn't. By noon, she was halfway through her shift at the hospital when her hand brushed her coat pocket. The key was there, cold, damp, its metal teeth glistening as if freshly pulled from the river. She almost screamed. Instead, she shoved it into her locker and slammed the door shut so hard that Marissa looked up from across the hall. You good? She asked. Yeah, Lena lied. Just tired. But the locker hummed. The sound wasn't coming from the vents anymore. It was inside the metal, a low, patient vibration. That night, she couldn't take it anymore. She went back to the records building. The front doors were locked, the windows dark, but her ID card somehow still worked. She slipped inside, flashlight in hand, and made her way down the same stairwell to the basement. The smell hit her first, damp, ozone, and old dust. When she reached the shelf labeled 14B, the folders were gone. Everyone. In their place was a single manila envelope with her name scrawled in marker, Lena Grant. Her stomach dropped. Inside was a photograph, grainy, black and white, time-stamped 03:00 a.m. It showed the Alder playground gate wide open, the swings mid-motion, the slide gleaming faintly under fog. In the bottom corner of the frame, almost lost in shadow, she saw herself standing beside the gate, hand outstretched. Her hand trembled. She flipped the photo over. A note was written in pencil, shaky but clear, one side open at all times. Global rotation, Aero 3, Jur local. The key chooses who locks it next. She dropped the photo. It landed face up, her own eyes staring back at her. A movement flickered in the edge of her flashlight beam. She turned. At the far end of the basement, one of the old filing cabinets was slightly open. A faint golden light leaked through the crack, pulsing like a heartbeat. She walked toward it slowly. Every step echoed. When she reached it, she pulled the drawer open. Inside was an identical key, and another, and another. Rows of them, hundreds, all labeled with different numbers, 12, 23, 47, 81. Each one hummed. The metal trembled under her fingers like a living thing. Then the power cut out. Her flashlight flickered. The hum rose into a single, unified tone that filled her skull until she could taste static. In the dark, something whispered, "You're late." She spun, shining the light toward the voice. No one. Only the dust shifting, papers lifting from the floor in slow spirals, as if gravity had forgotten its rules. The sound of a swing chain echoed faintly, distant but inside. Her phone vibrated. No number, just one message. 2:59. Her breath hitched. She bolted for the stairs, taking them two at a time. Halfway up, the building lights flickered back on, not white, but gold. Every bulb glowed with that faint playground light. She hit the top landing and stopped cold. The front doors of the building were gone. In their place stood the iron gate, tall, rusted, waiting. She stumbled back. No, no, no. The gate creaked open by itself. Beyond it, fog rolled low across a patch of wood chips that hadn't been there 10 seconds ago. Swings moved on their own. The slide gleamed like it had just been wiped clean. The key in her pocket burned. She pulled it out, the metal hot, vibrating, humming like a tuning fork. It pulled forward in her hand, like a magnet searching for a lock. A voice, small, clear, drifted from behind the fog. "We need someone new." She dropped the key and ran. The gate didn't chase her. It didn't have to. When she reached the street again, the building was whole, no gate, no fog, no golden light, but the hum stayed. She checked her watch. 3:11 a.m. The second hand started moving backward. She stood there for a long time, shaking, watching the city slowly realign itself to normal time. When the sun rose, her reflection in a passing window didn't move with her. It just stood there still, waiting, holding a small golden key in its hand. Lena didn't go to work again. She sealed the windows, unplugged every clock, and wrapped her phone in aluminum foil like that would stop it from knowing the time. But it didn't matter. Every appliance still hummed faintly, like the minute hand of the universe was still turning, even without power. She stayed awake for 2 nights straight, trying to piece it together. What the old man had said, what the note had meant. One side open at all times. Global rotation. The key chooses who locks it next. She opened her laptop, forcing herself to think like a nurse again, organized, procedural, scientific. She started tracking power surges, time anomalies, and unexplained local blackouts from old municipal logs. The data lined up almost perfectly. Japan, Brazil, Iceland, South Africa, Maine. Each event recorded between 03:00 and 03:11 a.m. Each location marked by short-lived electromagnetic spikes and missing surveillance data for 11 minutes. Exactly. She mapped them all on an online globe. The dots formed a perfect ring circling the Earth like a pulse. Every time zone, every hour, one location active. Each gate closed only when another one opened somewhere else. The world, it turned out, never stopped breathing. She tried to call Marissa to explain. The line picked up on the first ring, but all she heard was a faint child's voice whispering, "We're already playing." She threw the phone across the room. The screen cracked, but the voice kept speaking, soft and patient. "Tag, you're it." The power went out. Her laptop screen dimmed but didn't die. The map still glowed faintly, one dot blinking red near her city. Then the power came back, and the dot moved, slowly crawling toward her location, like a storm tracker predicting a landfall. Her pulse stuttered. She zoomed in. The red marker stopped exactly at her apartment building. "Not again," she whispered. She grabbed her jacket, ran outside, didn't even lock the door. The street was empty except for the hum of transformers and the flicker of streetlights sinking in unison. Blink, blink, pause, blink, blink. Everything around her pulsed in rhythm. It wasn't sound anymore. It was a signal. She ducked into a 24-hour convenience store, gasping, trying to hide under the fluorescent light. The cashier looked up, half asleep. "Rough night." Lena couldn't speak. Behind him, the wall clock changed. 2:58, 2:59. Then threes every second, hand freezing at once. The fridges along the wall began to hum louder. The floor trembled. Outside, the traffic lights all turned green together. And then, faintly through the glass doors, she saw it. A golden light spreading across the intersection, like fog lit from beneath. The gate. It wasn't supposed to move. It wasn't supposed to find her. But it was there now, its iron frame shimmering through the mist, its latch already unlocked. The cashier's radio popped with static. A child's voice whispered through it. 11 minutes. The man froze. His pupils dilated, face slackening like a puppet with its strings cut. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not his own smile, but something borrowed. "You brought the key, didn't you?" he asked, voice deep and wrong. She stumbled back, hitting the shelf behind her. Bottles rattled. The hum in the floor climbed higher, sharper, until it sounded like air screaming through wires. The store lights went gold. When she blinked, the man was gone. Just the hum, just the gate, and the faint reflection of the playground stretching where the parking lot should have been. She turned and ran again. Her phone vibrated in her pocket even though it was off. She pulled it out. No screen light, no power, but text still appeared, faint and red. 03 Yorad Local, Site 47. "You are late," she screamed, dropped it, and sprinted through the fog. Every building on her block shimmered like it was being rewritten, bricks flexing, doors breathing. The air wasn't air anymore. It was static. The invisible hum turned physical. At the far end of the street, she saw motion silhouettes moving slowly under the flickering light. Not ghosts, not people. They looked like echoes, figures walking through her, out of sync, looping movements like film reels caught on rewind. Every one of them carried something shiny in their hands, small metal keys, all glowing faint gold. Her vision swam. She stumbled backward into the curb. The fog thickened, pressing close like a living thing, and from inside it came a whisper. Hundreds of voices layered together. Lock it, or join. She fell to her knees, clutching her ears. The air vibrated through her bones. And then silence. When she opened her eyes, the gate stood right in front of her. The same one. Only now, its bars were twisted like they'd been melted and reforged. The latch was open. Her key hung from it, swaying gently. Her hands shook as she reached for it. It was still hot, still alive. She slipped it into the lock, turned it hard, and whispered, "Stay closed." For a second, everything stopped. No hum, no wind, no sound at all. Then far away, maybe halfway around the world, a faint metallic creak echoed through the static. Another gate had opened. Lena didn't plan to go back to the hospital, but when every streetlight in the city began blinking in sync at midnight, she realized it wasn't a matter of choice anymore. She followed the hum back to where it started. Inside, the hallways were empty, night shift gone, power flickering low, floors reflecting the sickly glow of emergency lights. She could still hear the monitors breathing in the ICU, that rhythmic pulse of machines that didn't know they were witnesses. But beneath that, she heard something else, a deeper hum, a lower tone coming from below the floors. She took the maintenance stairs, the ones she wasn't supposed to use. They spiraled down, narrow, cold, each step echoing softer than the last. By the third landing, she could see condensation forming on the walls, tiny beads of water, like the air itself was sweating. The hum grew louder. At the bottom, a rusted steel door waited. Stenciled letters across the front read, "Authorized personnel only, Project Hollis." She froze. That name. Her fingers brushed the handle. It was warm. When she pushed, the hinges groaned like something waking up. Inside, the air was heavy with heat and ozone. Rows of old servers stood like tombstones, their indicator lights blinking in slow rhythm, each pulse a heartbeat. The walls were covered in old city maps, each pinned with colored wires connecting to different points: playgrounds, parks, empty lots, dozens of them. A single monitor flickered on by itself. The screen glowed pale blue, text scrolling line by line. She stepped closer, wiping the dust from the glass. Hollis System V3.0 status, online rotation cycle, active next sync, 02.59:30. Local current operator, Grant, L. Her blood ran cold. "Operator?" she whispered. "I didn't." The cursor blinked, then words began typing themselves beneath it. "You locked Site 47. The system recognized your input. Do you wish to terminate the cycle?" She hesitated. "Yes," she said aloud. "Confirm. You understand the consequence?" "What consequence?" "Termination will remove all active intervals, all 24 gates, all temporal anchors, all remaining participants." Her pulse skipped. "Participants? Children, test subjects, observers, maintainers, current total, 47. Her throat tightened. "They're still alive?" "Define alive." The hum deepened. All the monitors in the room turned on at once, flickering with static. Through the static, faint shapes appeared: playgrounds from around the world, each glowing in fog, each with children frozen mid-motion, their faces blurred, their movements looping, every one of them surrounded by the same golden light. "No," she whispered. "The intervals are sustained through observation. If you stop watching, they end. If you terminate, they cease." "Cease?" "Erase." Her hands shook. "Why me?" "You were selected by proximity. You watched. You remembered. You believed." The hum rose, pressing through her chest like a second heartbeat. The lights dimmed to gold. She looked around. The floor panels vibrated, dust lifting in soft rings. The hum wasn't coming from the servers anymore. It was coming from the ground. She crouched, running her hand over the metal. The heat was unbearable now. The server closest to her clicked, ejecting a data card. Its label read, "Rotation log, 1987, present." She pulled it out, her hand shaking. The moment she did, the room flickered. Every monitor displayed the same image. The altar playground, empty, gate closed. Site 47, locked, reassignment in progress. Then the text changed. New site, Memorial General Hospital, sublevel 3. Her stomach dropped. She looked around, realization crawling up her spine like ice. The hum wasn't spreading to the hospital. The hospital was the next site. Local times 02:59:50. Her pulse thundered. "Stop it," she said, hammering at the keyboard. "End the cycle." "Confirm, erase 47 participants." She froze. The monitors flickered faster. The images of the children blurred, their faces fading, their outlines unraveling like smoke. Their laughter echoed faintly through the speakers, distant, fading. 15:55, confirm. Yes, no. She slammed, yes. The hum turned into a scream, a sound made of electricity and grief. The floor cracked open down the center, light bursting upward like molten gold. Every server exploded into static sparks. The power surged. Lena fell back, shielding her eyes. Through the blinding light, faint silhouettes of children stood at the edges of the room watching, unmoving, their outlines flickering in and out of time. 03 Narrow termination sequence initiated. The light engulfed everything. Then silence. When she opened her eyes, the servers were dark. The hum was gone. Her watch said 3:12 a.m. For the first time in weeks, the world was quiet. She stood, trembling, and walked toward the stairs. At the door, she turned for one last look. All the monitors were black except one. It flickered once, showing a single line of text. 47, terminated. One remaining participant, Grant L. When Lena surfaced from the basement, the hospital was quiet. Too quiet. The ICU monitors, normally a symphony of beeps and sighs, were frozen on flat green lines. The air hung heavy, still carrying the faint scent of ozone from below. She told herself it was over. It had to be. But as she walked through the empty corridors, her reflection in the polished floors didn't move in sync. Half a second delay at first, then a full second. By the time she reached the lobby, her reflection stood still even as she moved. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She didn't want to look, but she already knew. The screen flickered to life, no signal, no time. Just a single number floating against the black background. 47. She turned it off. It turned itself back on. The number changed to 1. She dropped it and backed away. The vending machines along the wall all clicked on at once, rows of glowing digital displays lighting up in sequence. Every single one showed the same thing, 3 a.m. Her pulse stumbled. She turned toward the sliding doors, ready to run, but the glass stayed still. Her reflection, her other self, stared back from the surface, eyes hollow, mouth half open as if about to speak. Then it blinked after she did. "Stop," she whispered. The reflection smiled. The glass doors slid open on their own. Beyond them, fog pooled along the pavement like water. Lena stepped outside slowly. The hum was gone, replaced by silence so deep it had weight. Streetlights glowed steady for the first time in weeks. Maybe it was done. Maybe she'd really stopped it. She took one breath of clean air, then another. Then the sirens began. Not emergency sirens, the city's air raid speakers. All of them. Every single one turning on at once, blaring a deep tone that wasn't mechanical at all. It was organic. It pulsed. 3 beats long. A pause. Then again. Her knees went weak. She recognized the rhythm. It was the hum, just louder. Every building, every system in the grid, amplifying what had once been confined to whispers. She looked up, and the sky itself flickered. Not lightning, not clouds, but time. Stars froze mid-twinkle. The moon shuddered, doubled, then snapped back into place. The world skipped a frame. Lena ran. Every streetlight she passed turned gold behind her, the color spreading outward like infection through metal. When she crossed the bridge, the hum dropped again. Slower this time, sinking with her heartbeat. She reached the other side, but the city skyline ahead wasn't her city anymore. The shapes of buildings were wrong, familiar yet misplaced, like memory redrawn by a stranger. Some windows flickered backward, rewinding light. She stopped, panting as her watch blinked on her wrist. The hands spun counterclockwise, blurring. Then they froze at 3-1, and when she looked up, she saw it. A playground. Right in the middle of the bridge, the same gate, the same rusted swing set, the same slide glinting under light that wasn't from this world. She backed away, shaking her head. "No," she whispered. "I locked it. I locked you." The gate creaked open. From within the fog, small shapes appeared, faint, shimmering silhouettes of children, each holding something glinting in their hands. Keys, dozens of them. Their voices overlapped like echoes caught between seconds. "We needed someone to close it. We needed someone to stay." "You did." She stumbled backward until her heel hit the bridge rail. The river below was motionless, glass-like, reflecting only the golden light. Her reflection in the water smiled up at her, the same delay, the same empty eyes. Then it whispered, "Time's playground needs its keeper." The air trembled. The city lights behind her dimmed one by one. Only the playground remained lit, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. The children's shadows began to fade, but the gate stayed open, humming like a doorway caught between now and never. She clutched the key still in her pocket, the same one she thought she'd left behind in the server room. Its edges were warm. Its hum matched her pulse exactly. She dropped to her knees. "Please," she whispered to the fog. "Just stop." The voices quieted. Then, from the center of the playground, a single swing creaked slow, deliberate, forward and back. The air shimmered around it, and for a moment, she thought she saw herself sitting there, not now, not today, but from the night she'd first watched that video. Same clothes, same fear, same mistake. The other her turned its head and looked directly at her. Its mouth moved, soundless at first, then clear as breath. "You're late," Lena screamed, threw the key into the fog, and ran. This time nothing followed. The hum faded. The light dimmed. When she finally reached the end of the bridge, she turned back. The playground was gone. Only the faint outline of the gate shimmered before fading into the air. She laughed once broken, hysterical, and walked until her legs gave out. At sunrise, she woke in a park she didn't recognize. Birds sang. Cars passed. Everything normal, except for one thing. Every clock tower she could see miles apart, across the horizon, was frozen at 3 a.m., and from the playground at the edge of the park, she heard one swing move once, slow, and stop. Lena sold her phone first. Then she left the city. She drove until her gas tank was dry, then walked until she found a cabin that didn't have electricity, Wi-Fi, or even a working clock. It felt like safety, quiet, disconnected, real. She told herself she could outsmart the hour if she stopped knowing when it came. For the first few nights, she slept, really slept. Dreams came back, soft and colorless. She woke with sunlight, ate from cans, drank from the creek, listened to wind. It almost felt like she had peeled time off herself like dead skin. But on the fifth night, something small broke the silence. Not a voice, not the hum, just a faint, rhythmic tap coming from the wooden floor beneath her bed, like a heartbeat in the planks. She ignored it. The next night, the same. Tap, 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 11 times. Then silence, always 11. By the seventh night, she stopped counting days. But her body didn't stop counting hours. She'd wake in total darkness, her pulse slow and heavy, her breathing sink to something she couldn't name. The world around her seemed to pause, wind held mid-gust, insects frozen mid-whine. Each time it lasted a little longer. She found herself checking her wrist even though there was no watch. That's when she noticed the faint shimmer under her skin. Not light exactly, but motion. Tiny pulses of gold moving with her veins. She pressed her fingers against her wrist. The glow quickened, answering her touch. Her stomach twisted. She staggered to the cracked mirror above the sink. In the reflection, her pulse glowed faintly at her neck, her temple, beneath her eyes. The longer she stared, the clearer it became. The light wasn't in her. It was counting. She grabbed a knife from the counter and slammed it into the wall, marking the sound each time the pulse surged. Tap, tap, tap. 11 marks. Always 11. Then silence. She pressed her ear to the wooden floor. Beneath the boards, the same pulse echoed back, faint but synchronized her heartbeat, mirrored by something deeper. She whispered, "Please stop." It did. For an hour. When she woke again, the glow had dimmed but not disappeared. It pulsed slower now, as if waiting. She packed her things and started walking before dawn. The forest was endless, gray and silent. No birds, no wind. Just the slow rhythm of her steps, matching the beat under her ribs. By noon, she found a dirt road and followed it until she reached a cluster of abandoned cabins. She stepped into the first one, same smell of dust and rain. But on the wall, carved into the wood, were numbers. Dozens of them. Dates, coordinates, and times. All the same. 03 a.m. Her chest tightened. She traced the most recent carving. It read, June 14th. Stop counting. It finds you faster. She stumbled backward, breathing hard. Her pulse sped up. The glow in her wrists brightened. She ran outside into the clearing. The sky was overcast, no sun visible, yet the light around her flickered, brightening and dimming as though the clouds themselves were breathing. Then the tapping began again. But this time, it wasn't from beneath the floor. It came from inside her chest. She dropped to her knees, clutching her shirt, gasping. Her heartbeat wasn't beating right, it was clicking, like a clock trying to start again. Each pulse sent a wave of gold through her veins, stronger, faster, synchronizing her to something unseen. "No," she whispered. "You ended. I ended you." The trees around her swayed in rhythm. Leaves rustled once for each beat, branches bending like metronomes. And through the wind, faint as breath, "You are the last gate." She screamed and ran until her throat burned. When she stopped, the forest had changed. The road behind her was gone. In its place, wood chips. Playground wood chips. She turned slowly. The fog waited. The gate stood a few feet away. Silent, patient, familiar. Her key, the one she'd thrown into the fog on the bridge, lay at her feet. Clean, shining. She picked it up. The hum returned, faint but certain, pulsing through her hand and up her arm. Her reflection appeared in the gate's metal, faintly distorted, delayed but smiling. Then it spoke, her own voice whispering back at her. "It's not the hour that finds you. It's the heart that keeps it." The fog rolled forward, gentle as breath. The glow under her skin flared bright once and then settled into a steady rhythm. AM came. The hum deepened, and for 11 minutes the world forgot to turn. By the time Lena found paper and ink, she'd already forgotten how long she'd been in the forest. Days didn't behave like days anymore. The sun rose when it wanted to. Rain fell in patterns too precise to be weather. 11 drops, pause, 11 more. Time had lost its edges, curling inward like old photographs. She began writing to remember. "If I stop telling the story," she wrote, "the world forgets it ever happened. But if I keep writing, it stays awake." The pen trembled in her hand. Every time she paused, the air thickened like the forest itself leaned closer, listening. Her handwriting grew frantic, lines overlapping, ink pooling in dark stains. She wrote until her fingers cramped, until she could no longer tell whether she was describing the past or inventing the present. She described the hum, how it started as sound, then became heartbeat, then thought. How her dreams now began after she woke. How every night at 3 the cabin windows fogged from the inside, and faint laughter drifted through the keyhole like steam. It doesn't need electricity anymore, she wrote. It just needs awareness. Anyone who knows the story gives it shape again. She realized the truth too late. By documenting the phenomenon, she had become its signal, the storyteller keeping the gate open. The hum had learned to speak through her. On the 10th page, her handwriting changed, smaller, sharper, like someone else had taken the pen. New lines appeared between her own. The system never needed machines. The machines just needed believers. She dropped the pen. It rolled off the table, landing with a soft tap, 11 echoes. Her reflection in the window no longer matched her face. It looked younger, brighter, almost like the girl she once was standing at the edge of a playground, daring herself to jump off the swing mid-air. That same reckless curiosity that had made her click play on the first video. The reflection lifted its hand, pressing its palm against the glass. When Lena hesitated, her hand rose on its own, mirroring it perfectly. The reflection mouthed a single word, right. So she did. She wrote about the night she first saw the gate. She wrote about Sam and Marissa, the hospital, the old man, the server room, the golden light. Every memory bled onto paper like confession. The more she wrote, the more the cabin began to change, walls stretching, shadows lengthening into shapes that didn't belong to wood or flame. When the candle sputtered, she saw movement outside. Not just fog now, figures, dozens of them. Children, adults, silhouettes flickering in and out like weak reception, each holding a key that pulsed faint gold with every breath she took. Their faces were blurred, unfinished. She realized with a cold shudder that they weren't separate from her. They were echoes, fragments of every person who had ever opened the gate before her. The lost participants of Hollis. They weren't haunting her. They were waiting. Every keeper must record, said a voice in her head, or maybe it was the hum, shaping words from pulse. The story keeps the door alive. The door keeps the world aligned. Her candle went out. The golden glow from her veins replaced it. She could see perfectly in the dark now. The fog outside pressed against the glass. Through it, she could see the faint outline of the playground again. Same gate, same swing, swaying once, slow, as if breathing. She looked down at the notebook. The words had rearranged themselves, letter by letter, forming new sentences she hadn't written. You are the last, but not forever. The next will read. The next will know. She slammed the book shut, heart hammering. But when she looked around, the figures outside had drawn closer now, standing in a ring around the cabin, their keys glowing softly, their heads tilted in quiet rhythm. Lena clutched the book to her chest. She could feel it pulsing alive. She whispered into the darkness, voice breaking. If anyone finds this, don't finish reading it. Don't speak the time aloud. Don't look for the gate. Then, with trembling hands, she tore the last page from the notebook, folded it neatly, and tucked it under the door. Maybe if I forget, she wrote, the world can forget too. Outside, the fog stilled. The figures lowered their heads. The hum fell silent. For a moment, it was over. But at exactly 3 a.m., the swing outside moved once more, and the page she'd left under the door glowed faintly, each word lighting up one by one, as if something else was reading them now. They found the notebook 31 years later. A freelance journalist named Evan Price had been researching a series of missing person cases across the Midwest, people who disappeared between 2:59 and 3:11 a.m., leaving behind no signs of struggle, no witnesses, and one strange common detail. The power grid in their area always surged for exactly 11 minutes before returning to normal. The city archives were useless, files lost, systems corrupted, but one librarian, old, sharp-eyed, the kind who remembered paper, pointed him toward a sealed evidence box from a decommissioned cabin outside Pine Hollow. Inside was the notebook, the cover warped with moisture, the pages stiff with age. The first words scrawled on the inside read, "If you are reading this, stop." Evan smiled faintly. Every investigator's dream was a warning like that. He photographed the first few pages for reference, then began to read. At first, it was just fragmented notes, names, numbers, half-phrases like Hollis grid rotation and temporal bleed. But then the entries became personal, one woman's descent into something she couldn't explain. Her name was Lena Grant, a nurse. Vanished in 1988. Evan flipped through the pages, drawn in despite himself. Each entry was more frantic, more desperate. He could almost hear her voice trembling between the lines, feel the rhythm in the way she underlined words. Her handwriting began to tremble halfway through, letters pressed deep into the paper as if written against vibration. He reached the middle of the notebook, where the ink changed color from black to gold. Not printed, not drawn, gold embedded in the fibers of the page, faintly metallic. And under the lamplight, the golden letters began to shimmer. He rubbed his eyes. When he looked again, the letters were moving. At first it seemed like heat distortion, words bending slightly. Then the text rearranged itself, one line at a time, spelling something new. Hello. He froze. His heartbeat synced instantly with the pulse of the room. the low hum of the fluorescent light above him. He flipped the page. The next one was blank except for a timestamp burned into the corner, 2:59 a.m. He checked the clock on the wall, 2:58. He laughed nervously. "Cute trick," he said aloud. "Static discharge. Iron in the ink." The hum deepened. The lamp above him flickered once, twice. He looked toward the window fog, pressing against the glass like a slow tide. He turned another page. More golden ink. The words appeared as he watched. "We only open for 11 minutes. Evan's throat went dry. The notebook felt warm now, faintly vibrating against his fingertips. He tried to close it. It didn't budge. The binding pulsed, veins of light crawling through the spine like something alive. He pushed back from the table, chair screeching across the tile. The librarian's desk was empty. The rest of the library dark. He reached for his phone. "Indornaam, exactly." The hum filled his ears like pressure underwater. The lamp flickered gold. The notebook snapped open on its own. The pages flipped rapidly, stopping near the end where a single sentence glowed. "The next will read. The next will know." He stumbled backward, knocking into the shelf behind him. Something creaked in the hallway, slow, steady, metallic. He turned toward the sound. Through the glass doors at the far end of the library, the fog thickened. Shapes moved within it, small shapes, children. Their outlines shimmered gold, faint and flickering, like candlelight behind frosted glass. One of them stepped forward, hand pressed against the door. In its palm, a small, glowing key. Evan whispered, "No." The lights in the library all flicked off together. The fog surged through the cracks beneath the doors. He could smell the same faint scent described in the notebook, metal and rain. The hum slowed, turned steady, and from the notebook still open on the table came a faint whisper, Lena's voice barely audible through static. "You shouldn't have read this far." The fog wrapped around his legs, cold and soft. The notebook's final page turned on its own. A sentence appeared as if being written by invisible hands. "New participant confirmed." The lights exploded white. The hum stopped. Silence. When the library reopened the next morning, the notebook was gone. So was Evan Price. Only his phone remained on the table, camera open, still recording timestamp, 03:11 a.m. The last frame of the video showed the notebook lying open in the fog. The cover slowly closed itself, and across the spine, fresh ink appeared. Letters still wet. Property of Project Hollis. Current operator, Price E. The video surfaced 3 weeks later. A user named A Night Data Archive uploaded it to a small paranormal subreddit with the title, "Found this on an abandoned phone at a library. Don't watch at 3 a.m. At first, no one cared. The thumbnail was unremarkable, just fog, light distortion, and the corner of a notebook. The post got 8 upvotes in 2 hours. Then someone noticed the metadata. The timestamp on the file didn't match upload time, it was 3 hours ahead. And the audio signature underneath the ambient noise carried a faint rhythmic pulse. Every 3 beats, a pause. 11 times per minute, people started downloading it, re-uploading it, looping it. By midnight, hundreds of copies existed. By the following day, it had spread to TikTok, YouTube, Telegram, and ghost hunting discords. The comment sections were full of warnings. "Don't play it loud. My lights flickered. I heard a kid laugh in my hallway. Look at the background, there's a gate." It hit 1.2 million views before moderators took it down. But it didn't matter anymore. Copies kept appearing slightly different each time. In one version, the gate opened slower. In another, faint shadows appeared behind the swing set. Some versions were only 11 seconds long. Researchers tried to trace the file's origin. Every server showed the same strange pattern. Uploads happened simultaneously across time zones, always between 02:59 and 03:11 a.m. local time. One data scientist described it as the internet blinking. News stations began reporting blackouts linked to the viral clip. Hospitals recorded brief power surges. Transit systems froze for 11 minutes. Every digital clock in several major cities reset itself to 3 a.m. before correcting. And across those cities, people started filming something else. Empty playgrounds, appearing overnight. Fenced lots, open gates, fog. Always fog. At first, the videos were shaky phone clips, people whispering, "It's just there," pointing towards swings that moved without wind. Then came clearer footage, police body cams, traffic cameras, drone feeds. Each captured the same impossible detail. The playgrounds didn't exist in daylight. Urban planners checked property records, satellite maps. Nothing. No permits, no coordinates, no trace. Only the footage. And even that began to distort after midnight files renaming themselves. Metadata looping back to 1987. By the end of the month, social media platforms banned the Hollis footage. It didn't help. The algorithm had already learned the rhythm. Even unrelated videos began to glitch at the 11-minute mark, frames flickering gold for a fraction of a second. Some viewers noticed, most didn't. Then one night, power grids in 6 countries pulsed at the same second, 03 a.m. GMT. Satellites recorded a faint electromagnetic ripple encircling the Earth's surface, moving eastward at the rate of sunrise. Technicians called it a synchronization event. They didn't know it was a heartbeat. Emergency alerts followed, all broadcasting the same message at once. Temporal anomaly detected. Please remain indoors between 03 sir and 03:11 local time. Governments denied involvement. Power companies claimed the alerts were the result of a coding error, but by then, thousands of users had noticed something worse. The sound from the original clip, that low hum, could still be heard faintly in background noise, even when muted, even when deleted. The first live streamer to test it, a ghost relay, broadcast from an abandoned lot in Detroit at 2:59 a.m. 200,000 people watched him count down the seconds. When the timer hit 3:0, his camera froze. The feed continued without him. Static fog, faint laughter. At 3:11, the video cut out. His channel remained live for 7 hours afterward, streaming only one phrase typed into chat repeatedly by unknown accounts. Site confirmed. Gate open. By dawn, playground sightings increased tenfold. Some appeared in basements, some on rooftops, some in mirrors. Always the same: a gate, a swing, a patch of ground that wasn't there before. And in every recording, a single shadow could be seen standing beside the gate. Not a child, not a ghost. A woman motionless, her face blurred, veins faintly gold beneath her skin. The comments argued over her identity. Some said it was special effects. Some said it was Lena Grant. Some said it was whoever watched the full video last. The servers carrying the clip began to crash. One by one, data centers in multiple continents reported identical errors. Hum detected source unknown. In labs, scientists recorded the same pulse through isolated machines not connected to the internet. They called it residual temporal bleed. They said it shouldn't be possible. They were right. It wasn't. At exactly 3 a.m. in every time zone, the hum rose again, deeper, wider, synchronized. Power grids brightened. Skies turned faint gold at the horizon. And from every dark corner of every city, playground gates began to open, all at once, for 11 minutes. Then the world blinked, and when it came back, every digital clock read 3:00 a.m. again. At first, the world thought it was a blackout. Every satellite, phone, and machine stopped exactly at the same second, 03:00 a.m. Planes hung mid-air. Cars drifted silently through intersections. Conversations froze mid-sentence, laughter caught between notes. Billions of people held still inside a moment that refused to pass. And then came the hum. Not faint anymore, it filled the atmosphere like a second sky. It didn't just vibrate the air, it shook thought itself. Animals went silent. Oceans stilled. Lightning flickered but didn't strike. Every sound in the world was replaced by the same deep rhythm, 11 slow pulses. Then, silence. No wind. No movement. Just gold light bleeding across the edges of everything, through glass, through eyes, through time itself. From orbit, satellites recorded something impossible. The planet shimmered, a faint golden lattice, like circuitry, spread across continents connecting cities, rivers, mountains, every living pulse. It looked like veins. It was veins. Everywhere at once the playgrounds appeared, not as structures but as imprints burned into space like memories replaying. Swings swayed with no wind. Slides gleamed in fog that moved against gravity. Gates stood open, humming softly. Across the world, people who could still think, who could still feel, described the same impossible thing. They saw children, dozens, hundreds, standing near each open gate. Eyes bright gold, faces calm, each one whispering in perfect unison, though no mouths moved. It's time for recess. The hum deepened. In hospitals, heart monitors began syncing to it. 11 beats, pause, 11 more. In offices, screens lit up all black except for a single white line of text. Project Hollis, reboot complete. The words flickered, then changed. New interval initiated. Operator global. And for the first time since 1987, every clock on Earth showed the same number, 3:00 a.m. In a small village in Iceland, a man filming the northern lights caught the moment it happened. The aurora turned gold. Beneath it, an empty playground shimmered into existence, complete with a single swing moving back and forth. He laughed nervously, said something in his language, and stepped closer. The camera trembled. He whispered, "There's a woman." The lens focused. A figure stood by the gate barefoot, face unreadable, her skin faintly glowing through her veins. She looked up directly into the camera. Lena Grant. She didn't move, didn't speak. The swing slowed. The fog rolled inward, and then the feed cut to black. Across the world, those watching live saw their screens go dark for 11 minutes. When the footage returned, the playground was gone. But the voice remained, a child's whisper, everywhere at once. Every speaker, every ear, every thought. 1, 2, 3. The count continued. echoing through the static of time. By the count of 11, the hum stopped. People blinked. Wind moved again. The clocks began ticking. Power returned. Everything looked normal at first, but when the sun rose, something was different. Every clock in every country still read 3 a.m. Seconds ticked, but the hour refused to change. Time had restarted, but not forward, just around, and somewhere deep within the Earth's electric veins, the system logged a final entry. Project Hollis, Phase 4 complete. Interval reset successful. Active participants, 8,011, 476,328. Every living person. That morning, as cities blinked awake under a sun that didn't move, children everywhere began to draw the same thing in chalk on the ground: a gate, a swing, and a clock stuck at $3. When asked where they'd seen it, they all gave the same answer: we play there when everyone's asleep. And from far beyond the sound of waking cities, beyond satellites, beyond the edge of the light, a faint voice whispered one last line, carried through static and heartbeat: the playground isn't opening anymore. It's staying.